Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of Island Stat Sports Talk. I'm your host, Earl Baston, and we're counting down to the 2025 edition of the Edward Cross Long Distance Race. We're some 5 days away. I'm joined by Dale Brengman, Ben Smith, and Maxwell Curtis. These three are three of the past winners over the last 6 years. Ben has won twice, Maxwell and Dale have won once each. But gentlemen, let's go back a little bit because this race has a significance to the community of Bermuda. It's been around for over 80 years. We've seen the good and the bad, and everything from it. But I'm going to start with you, Maxwell. Just knowing that you're in a race that has been over 80 years of existence, what does that mean for you?
Oh wow! I mean, for me, this race really is a dream come true. I actually used to watch this race for years off my stepfather's boat before I was even into sailing.
Mm-hmm.
And I can go back as far as I was like 8 years old watching this race. And the biggest thing that used to excite me was the amount of boats that followed this race, and then just the significance of like Stevie Dickerson. Like, you know what I mean? When you hear his name,
Yes.
you know where that name comes from. So I mean, for me, that's always been my goal, just to have that household name like Stevie Dixon. But the history in this race goes back. I mean, beyond all three of us in this chat right now. But yeah, it's a lot at stake for this race. It's not the average race that we can just set up for. It's all the marbles on the line for this race. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Dale, for you, like the history of it and the fact that you're in something that has such a significance to not just the sailing community but Bermuda itself.
Yes, I taking back for myself personally. I grew up sailing in East End Mini Yacht Club, under Colin Clark and Prams, and eventually I became a crew for David Wool. And as you become around these guys that you grew up with, you always want to take a part in this race because this is the biggest race that we have all year. Like I said, the fans of Bermuda who come out and spectate. I mean, that's the biggest spectator option that we have for the year, where everybody comes out and actually watches sailing. Right now, we do it off each club individually, so some people get to see us while we're racing off each club. But the history of this is, like you said, it goes back over 80 years. And for as long as I've been sailing, I'm always wanted to take part in the race. I've been a crew, and I'm a skipper. And of course, everybody that takes part in this race always wants to win. And I'm one of the few people that actually have won this race. So I want to try to keep on doing it.
Yeah. And Ben, I'm going to come to you because you don't get an opportunity to sail in this boat a lot. But being a part of this particular race, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously very special. I mean, the first one I did was with Raquel Evans when I was 11 or 12 years old.
Spent a lot of time in the water.
Yeah, back in 2011, and just seeing all the boats following you, even when it's rough weather, it was very special. And it really shows how much Bermudians care about this race.
Yeah. I had to laugh because, and I said you spent a lot of time in the water because that the year you're talking about, 2011, you were the only boat to finish.
Yeah.
That particular race. But Dale, I'm going to come to you because you said you started out with Mr. Clark and all, and in the prams and all of that. So you come right through the entire program. That victory you had, coming through the channel cut, coming across the line, did everything flash back to you about where you started, how things have transpired to that point?
That's a great question because when you think about it, it does, because that's the harbor where I grew up sailing. You know what I mean? That's where I learned how to sail. So coming back through there, many a times watching, like I said, like Stevie Dixon and other people win the race that I had looked up to, and for me to come to the cut at that time in St. George's and winning it in St. George's was a great feeling. And with my crew at the time, which was Tajari Rogers, I can't never forget him.
Yeah.
He was 12 years old at the time. So now he's moved on to England, so now I have to find another crew. But but like I said, it was very special, and it was the 75th anniversary. Right. So now it's the 80th. So now hopefully I can do it again.
you can fly to Gary and
yeah.
and you bring up a good point, Max. Let's talk about the crew, because a lot of people don't realize. Everybody just thinks, oh, the skipper is the person that masters and wins the race and so forth. Let's talk a little bit about the crew, because you've had the opportunity to have somebody who has won the race as a crew for several years with someone like Stevie now in your boat, and you previously had your other partner Stefan. Talk a little bit about that relationship you need and that understanding you need for this particular race, because it's a long haul.
Yes, I'm actually glad you brought up the cruise, because the cruise always got overlooked. Actually, Wesley read me my rights a couple days ago, because I didn't say his name on the radio the other day. I think it was Monday. I was on the radio with Mr. Lambert. I didn't say his name. He definitely read me my rights. So Wesley Tucker, his actually, I would say, the most winning crew. I believe he's won that race 15, 16 times. I don't think any crew's ever won it that much.
Right.
So shout out to Wesley Tucker for that. But yes, when Stefan and I first started sailing, I want to say we was 12 and 14. He's a little bit older than me. Started off our first our first long distance race. I think we finished like 13th, and then we just kept building from there. So for me, that relationship was never supposed to die. Stefan and I was supposed to keep sailing until the end. So I guess me not ever having that in my mind that I would have to get a new crew, it kind of derailed me when Stefan left. So when he chose to get out of the boat, I didn't have a crew. I didn't have a great crew, and obviously Wesley was still with Stevie at the time.
Right.
So that made me realize how important a crew was. It's a relationship. It's not. That's what it is. It's a real relationship, and if you don't have a good relationship with your crew, you're not gonna go far. But having Wesley on your boat and all the experience that he brings from Stevie, it's mind blowing how much he really knows, because it comes out on the race course. He can't really say it to you on land, but when situations come up, he's like, hey, we got to do this, we got to do that. And it makes sense because he's been in these situations. So I definitely lean on Wesley for a lot of tactics and stuff. Even when I won it, Wesley, kind of put me on the right path to winning that race. So I can never, Wesley's always been a part of my success, whether I like to say it or not. You know what I mean? Wesley's always been there for me, definitely. You know what I mean? Having a good crew means a lot. And that's why I understand why Peyton only wants to sail with Christian, because it's hard to sail with someone with just a little bit of experience in these boats when it's so many sharks out here biting at the bait. You know what I mean?
Right.
You need the best of the best. You know what I mean? You definitely need the best of the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Ben, the fact that you have another skipper in the boat, how and I mean, from experience of even sailing, the crew does a lot of hiking and a lot of work in the boat. But having another skipper in the boat, how does that work out for you with you and Christian?
I think it works out pretty well. I mean, we both the crew has a lot of input in what we do, just like Max was saying. I would say that the crew basically drives the boat. The driver just makes it go fast. The crew is telling you where to go a lot of the time, looking behind you for the pressure. And I think it's almost more important, the crew role, than the skipper role.
Yeah, yeah. Well, gentlemen, I do have a surprise for you, because the person that has won this race the most,
Oh my word!
joining us. Welcome, Uncle Steve.
Hey there, hey there.
Well, Steve, I got these guys together because they were the ones on the island and that have, the most recent winners other than yourself. But these young gentlemen are going through stuff you went through when you were 16, 17, 18. Take us back to that those times when you would have gotten started, and how things are materializing today.
Oh yeah, when I was 16, 17, obviously it was all the boats and wooden boats and all that type of stuff from down the club. And I was just so keen on this particular race. At 16, I was the youngest to win it. And that was a very, very exciting time. That's when I started really realizing that, I'm not a bad sailor. And then after that, I invested in a new boat, so I became a little faster, and I started to win it a little more often. But this is the biggest race in Bermuda. It takes you to the next level. And these guys here are brilliant sailors, so they're going to have some good races underneath the boat. I'm seeing each and every one of them improve. And work hard to get where they got, including Ben, because I can remember Ben when he was a little fellow on Spanish Point.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm always been around Dale and Max. And I always used to tell Max, I said, Max, you got a natural gift, but you need to utilize it. And he had stopped sailing for a while, and then now it's come back and it's funny. Starting to get it together, but it's got real good since it's been sailing with whales. Believe me when I tell you.
Yes.
My teaching,
Yes.
Dale, let me ask you, because you said you grew up and you idolized Stevie. So your first, take me through your first race with Stevie involved.
But as far as being a skipper in this particular race,
yes.
Well, with Stevie, he's always been a mentor to all we guys in St. George's. Mm-hmm. So of course, when you're first time skipper, you're always trying to get. Well, for me, I was always trying to get information, so I always asked, even when I wasn't doing as good from the beginning. You know what I mean? I always wanted to learn how to be better, and so of course, when you're up against him, you're always trying to beat him. But at the end of the day, the king still came out on top at that time. but like I said, but when you get back ashore, I always used to try to, pick his brain to find out, what did he do, just to try to make myself better for the future. And of course, over time, things paid off.
Yeah. Ben, you remember the first time you sailed against Stevie?
No, I can't. It was probably in 2011 when I was crewing with Raquel. I sailing by him after his mast broke.
Yeah. When you were telling you guys, go in. Oh, that's when you introduce yourself to Stevie. He's sort of
Well, no. I met him way before. But sailing against him, I think that was the first time.
For you, Max, let's talk a bit about, because you would have been around Stevie and having conversations and all. What was that first race like for you, long distance race?
I honestly can't remember my first long distance race against Stevie, because I already knew I wasn't gonna win. I was, you know what I mean. So it really wasn't even about Stevie at that point. It was just don't come last.
Right.
That's
okay.
my thing, you know what I mean? But just to reiterate what Dale was saying, Steve is always, before the race, after the race, he's always giving you information of how to get better, how to get faster, because as the number one boat it's no fun you being fast by yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? It becomes boring. So I can understand over the years. That's why Stevie's been trying to help, more or less everybody in St. George's to like just get up to his level. You know what I mean? Because that's just Stevie. But Stevie's basically had Dale and I on our wings for forever. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Steve, I'm gonna mention a name to you, and I want you to tell me what you think about how he has helped and mastered this sport. Gledman Lambert.
Oh my dear. Oh my.
Wow.
Glavin for years and years and years has been the stronghold of this class. I don't think this class would be where it is if it weren't for him and the work that is put in to keep the class motivated and going. He came up with the idea of the 3 clubs getting together, doing different regattas and stuff like that, which was fantastic. And he's still pushing. He's still, he might get lucky on Monday. Got to watch him. He might get blessed. But Glavin has been a stronghold of this class for so many years. And matter of fact, when I was sailing Optus, Glavin was my coach.
Wow.
In Somerset. Yeah. So he mentioned this to me now and then, you know what I mean?
He got you started?
Yeah. But I props to him.
Sure.
Because the class is just it's big now. It's big. Like, everybody wants to do this long distance race, the Evercourse long distance race. And good sailors will come in. The Kirkland boys, Malcolm, Malcolm's son Ben, these guys are good sailors. So it's a lot of competition out there, which has made it really great.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Steve, which way do you like going?
Any way that I'm gonna win.
Well, Ben, you've won twice heading west. Is that your preferred way to go?
Right now it is. Hopefully after Monday it won't matter, but we'll see. Last year, or no, the year before last, I was OCS, but I ended up second across.
Right. What about you, Dale? Which way do you like? Do you prefer to go?
Well, I'm already won again done, so I want to win again up. So that's what I. So I'm, you know what I mean? I'm like Steve. I just want to win, so it don't make a difference what way I go. But I definitely want to win again up. That's for sure.
Sure. What about you, Max?
Well, I'm kind of like Dale. I want it going up, so I want to win it coming home. You know what I mean? I could only imagine how Stevie and Dale felt being from St. George's, going around Fort St. Catherine, going into the cut. You can almost put a face next to every name that's calling you. You know what I mean? Because you know everybody. You know everybody's voice. So I think for me, it's more special coming home, even though I've never experienced it. But yeah, I think it's more special, coming St. George's.
Yeah.
Being from St. George's,
Right. Stevie, he talked about the town cut. You've won races there, and you've lost races there.
I'm lost. During talk, the town cut. I'm lost a race at least 3 times.
Yeah.
Just getting the town cut first and just not paying attention, or pleasure boats coming through.
Right.
Slid me down. One time, Millie went through me, and I didn't really like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm lost it a couple of times in the channel.
Sure. Now, let me ask you guys: the town cut. Do you like it early in the race, or is it? Well, you got to go through it either way to win the race. But after battling coming down the road or coming down this North Shore, do you prefer going through that channel after, or do you like it getting out of the way as early as possible? Matt?
I want to get it out the way.
Me, I always liked it at the end. You know, it shakes things up a bit. You know what I mean? For instance, let's just say if Ben gets a good start, he runs away. He might have trouble in the cut. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the cut's the biggest equalizer. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So for me, it's the cut should, being the last hurdle. That's the best for me.
Mm-mm. What about you, Ben? Do you like getting it out of the way? Obviously, you won it twice, getting it out of the way early.
Yeah, I think I like getting it out of the way early, especially when it's an upwind, and you're able to get through it, hike hard and get through it pretty quickly. But I mean, the wind's going to be out of the west, so we're going to be going up and going back. I don't know where the current is, but yeah, I think I like getting it out of the way.
Right. Stevie,
I think you just got to pay attention to the tide and what it's doing in the channel there, because if it's running out, then you want to stick to the sides.
Yeah,
you go in the middle, you're gonna end up going backwards. And the last long distance race I done, I was over the line, but I got stuck out in the middle.
Right.
And, so you got to pay attention to the tide, find out what the tide is doing, and then go from there.
Max was saying not too many secrets, Steve.
Not too much secrets, Steve. You're supposed to tax deal and all that.
Hey, everybody's there, mate.
Steve, out of all the races you've done, which one would you say was your most memorable?
I would definitely say the first one at 16. Because I ran across the line and I got to the dock and my mom was there.
Right.
Come here, son. Yeah, that was the best feeling ever. Yeah, it was, and then I just, gave her a hug there and jumped overboard and went, anything a little boy would do.
Yeah. You're 16, you stayed in the water.
I was 16.
They had to call you out for getting presentation, isn't
it? Yeah. On that particular race, believe it or not, Cardi Bassett was sailing with me. And I had a wooden boom and the gooseneck broke. So I had to get Cardi to steer the boat. He didn't have a clue how to steer the boat. He just knew how to cruise. So I just said, look, just steer for this, for dockyard, and I'll fix the boom. So I had to tie the boom all up and then the gooseneck and everything. And then we ended up just winning the race. It was a flow down, going down against the wind. Right. And then the wind changed. It went more south. So it ended up being like a low reach.
Right.
And we guys anyway about between us, maybe about maybe 250 at the most. So we were real light. When he reaches, we were flying.
Right. Ben, what would you say was your most memorable race?
Well, probably the first one I won with Raquel. That was a crazy race.
Yes.
And, yeah, definitely the most memorable.
Yeah, we're in about time that day. It was about survival, wasn't it?
Raquel was trying to beat the record at one point.
Well, until you got around Forcing Catherine, and you kept capsizing. You kept having to go.
Yeah.
Dale, which one stands out for you?
Well, it's definitely the one that I won. So that's always going to be that until I win it again. See what happens.
Sure. And Max?
It would definitely be the one that I won because I beat Stevie by about half a billion. I'll never forget that.
The line you took, because that race stands way out. The line you took to get to the finish line and where Stevie was coming from, if the finish line would have been 10 more feet,
I think I would have took it.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
he
was flying off the angle he was coming in, and you were just holding. And like you said, you beat him by a half a boat.
Yeah. By mind you, I came back from 8th place too, because I was in 8th round in Fort St. Catherine.
Right.
Yeah.
You kept that. You basically the line you took and the route you took basically pulled you away from everybody for a little bit. You came back to everybody, and then coming past some hogfish, you kind of got a good lift again, and you just stayed that line kind of thing. Where I think Stevie, you came in off of Spanish Point, right?
Well, that's a mistake I made. See, because what had happened was the wind end up going a little more west.
Right.
So when it looked like I was covering Max, when the wind went west, it went round a bit and put him ahead. So when he tacked out, he was going.
Yeah.
all the stacking I was doing was totally unnecessary. I get like that, so I messed it up.
So Steve, you a young winner, you're dominating the sport, and you got somebody like Wesley Tucker in your boat. What does Maxwell Curtis have with him in his boat?
He has a guy that knows the boat and is strong. He can handle the boat. That's one thing about Bears. Bears can put you in the right direction. He hikes hard, talks a lot of stupidness sometimes, but it's all right.
That's what keeps you good.
But
Yes.
But I truly believe if Bears would have really, really hung in there, would not be touched Bears. Bears is a very, very talented guy.
Yeah.
You feel so confident with him.
Yes.
You're not afraid to attack, defend, whatever you got to do in there, but you can do it with Bears.
Yeah. Max,
I could. Let me say something towards that. I could definitely attest to that, because a couple of times when I don't have crew, if Max can't make it, I'll be like, hey, Wes, you want to sail with me? And just him in the boat or land, you could just tell a complete difference from anybody else that you really sail with, because his depth would. So I have to give him respect for that.
Sure. Max, this class has grown. As Stevie said, with Gledwin Lambert holding it together, piecing it together, just kept stirring the pot, making it grow. But you have some outstanding sailors, week in and week out. I follow you guys. So
yes,
and to be honest, on any given day, anybody could actually win this particular race. But what about the rest of this fleet?
Yes, it's some fast. I was actually talking to someone today, and I was telling them, like, it's 6 skippers that could win this race. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna call them 3's on the chat right now. You got Alan Firth.
Yes.
You got obviously Rudy Bailey. You always have to put him in there because I'm sure he's gonna show up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Who else we have out there? Glevin, and then we have a lot of people don't know Jack's coming back this year. So here's another spanner in the wrench that could upset everybody. Jack's fast.
Yes.
So yeah, it's the fleet's gonna be very exciting this year because it's anybody's race. It's a Darwin race. I'm not expecting the race to really start until Fort St. Catherine. That's pretty much where the race is gonna start. Yeah. It should be a flow all the way to Fort St. Catherine, and then we're gonna get it on from there.
Yeah. And Fort St. Catherine is started at Oil Docks because the tide gets a little different there, and then you get around Fort St. Catherine, and then it's a wind shift.
Yeah.
So from there to Tom Cott, it's all about knowing where you're going to be positioned, and if you're out of position, you're out of the race.
Yes.
Yeah. Steve, take us through, because I remember back in the day, Steve, we used to do the Oil Docks race the week before the long distance race, only because we wanted to get the practice of getting in and out of the Tom Cott.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we used to do that. I mean, we've done that for years. The East End Yacht Club done it for years just to get guys used to the cut. No matter which way the wind was coming or whatever, just to learn the cut a bit. And as one thing, you cannot master that cut, babe. I've been trying for years and years and years. And
You ever
I'm
thought about?
so
You ever
glad
thought-
when you have to beat out of there, or the wheels coming out of the vessel, you have a flow outside the car. It's easy. But
Yeah.
when it comes out of the south, or you're in trouble.
You ever thought about going through the other cut, on the other side of the island?
No, never thought of that. I didn't want to get stuck on the rocks or anything like that. So.
But let's talk a little bit about just the boat itself, because as Stevie said, when he started, it was a wooden boat. Now we've got these double bottom, these machines kind of things, and I'm praying that we continue on with these, because we see the development of so many different boats and so forth and so forth. But this class has survived many up and coming boats, and we've seen some disappearing, some come back and so forth. But the boat itself, Steve,
yeah,
without giving out all your secrets, because I watched you a few times, preparing your boat for this particular race, you often turn it over, you do a little bit of work, and you turn it back over, and you do some more work, and just putting the boat together.
Yes. Well, what I do, I always believe, a clean boat is a fast boat.
Yes.
Your bottom is clean and sanded and polished back. You make sure all your rigging is good. You check all your wires and everything. You check your rake and your mast and your foot. Make sure that's straight. I always done that. Check the sails out. See if they're okay. Your ropes, your jib rope, your main rope. You don't want to go out there and you pull your main in and it breaks.
Yeah.
Same way with the jib rope. So you always have a good preparation. You prep your boat first, and then you go racing.
Dale, do you have a ritual?
Well, basically what Stevie says, not necessarily a ritual, but I definitely make sure that I get my boat where it needs to be. And then, like I said, most of the times we all get together and help each other do each other's boats, because we help trying to over boats and everybody is there. So we use it as a little a little get together,
Right.
and talk nonsense before the race, get everybody excited. So we normally do that on normal stuff, and everybody normally helps each other before the race, because that's what we do. Nobody's not really trying to keep any secrets away from each other, and and we just have fun. That's it.
Yeah. Then, what are some of the things you do before each race, no matter what class of boat it is, or just a long distance race?
Tell the truth, Ben. Tell the truth. You get it in the sailing.
Yeah.
That's it.
For the boat, just make sure it's clean, polished, just like Steve was saying. Make sure the ropes are all good. Make sure nothing's going to break. We looked over the rigging the other day, and one of the stays had a crack in the metal, so we had to replace that, because that will end your race. Mast goes down, won't be fun. But just go over everything.
What about you, Max?
Pretty much what everybody else has been saying. Just make sure you turn it over. I'm had Wesley in my life for, let's say, the past 10 years, and his did my bottom better, his sailing with me or without me. That's just, nobody cleans a boat better than Wesley. I'm gonna tell you that. You're not taking that from him. Like, that's his job. He wants to buff your boat, and you just have to let him go do it, and he does a phenomenal job. But just like what everybody's saying, just clean it up, make it, check small little things. Just make sure everything's where it's supposed to be, everything's tuned right. I'm a person, I definitely check my measurements before I go overboard every single time I actually sail my boat. I just can't sail without knowing where I'm at. You know what I mean? So just things like that, just making sure that all your I's are crossed and dotted and T's are everything's sorted. Because it's a long race.
Yeah.
Anything could happen. Anything.
Yeah.
Even if you change, like for instance, Ben saying he changed a stay.
Right.
Just to change that stay, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean it's a new stay that could break. You know what I mean? There's so many things happen on these boats are just crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you mean it's going to be pretty decent on Monday. So
Right.
everybody should be able to track their stuff. So nobody wants excuses. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody wants to say, oh, because of this happened, this is why I had to pull off. Then you start, looking like a softie. You know what I mean?
You got to keep the excuses to yourself.
You have to, yes.
Well, I'm going to ask this question because I know there's probably people watching this and want to know the answer to this. Stevie, will we ever see you again in the long distance race?
Earl, I can honestly say I don't know. I really don't. I mean, if I happen to be back in Bermuda around that time, then I'll try to get a boat together and probably sail the race. But at this point in time, I can't see it.
Okay. See you Sunday night.
And I don't think anybody is gonna take a long time for someone to win 21 times. So it's yeah. Well, and I don't want to come back and make it 22. Come on, Earl.
That's why I asked. That's exactly why I asked. Well, gentlemen, I want to say all the best on Monday, and not just to you three, but to everybody that lines up on Monday. Keep our history going. It's you guys that's in this race that keep a tradition for 80 years and hopefully another 80 years to come, just by having fun, being on that start line. We know it's a long race. We know it's a difficult race, but at the end of the day, if you're standing at the front, at the end, that's the reward, and that's what everybody's looking forward to. Everybody that lines up wants to be first across the line at the end, not first across the line at the start. So with that I say, what's that?
That is
the boat at that time. Stop
that is.
Yeah, Dan and I said, look, well, right here, come on now.
When you hear that horn go the second time, just do a loop.
But I would like to say something as well. I'd like to say something as well. I wish you guys all the best. You guys definitely have the ability to take this race to another level. With all the guys that are in it, definitely have the ability to take it to another level. So please do, because it can be a very, very fun race and very, very entertaining. Yeah. Good luck, you guys.
And thank Steve, I want to thank you for joining. It was a pleasant surprise, and I know these guys were surprised for you to join. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people within the class will be happy to see you and hear you talk about this particular race. I know you were in Bermuda not too long ago, and you did manage to get out on the water a couple of times. So
the second guy was a little too fast for me.
It was his crew.
Yeah, it was my crew.
I know if I would have took Reyes, he wouldn't have seen me.
Oh my God!
Oh my gracious!
But yeah, it's been over. Yeah. He was. I must admit, he was very, very fast. And Heath and I had sailed together, and Heath and I hadn't sailed together in years.
Yes, right. Yeah.
We were all over the boat, falling in the boat. We was doing all stuff, but we took a race off him. We was pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
Because we actually talked about it. Said, look, if you've been the first race, let's go in.
That's right.
I should have been in, Earl.
It's so funny because you didn't race your last race. You won the first one.
Just race one race, that's enough. Come here.
Well, guys, again, all the best come Monday. All the best to all the sailors, crew. Remember to shout out to the crews and those people who have sailed before you guys, and because you're kind of sailing in their honor as well.
Yeah.
And then hopefully this race continues to go on and on and on from strength to strength. So again, good luck to everybody. Thank you, Steve. Enjoy your night, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Have a
Bless
good
you
night.
guys. Talk to you later.
All right.